What's up, guys, and welcome to Trendy Talk Podcast with me, Amy Lauren. I'm a health and fitness fanatic with various businesses in the health and wellness industry. On today's episode, one's a lost soul on the professional tennis circuit who has transformed his life into an extraordinary journey of triumphs. From mastering the high-stakes world of real estate to scoring the skies as a helicopter pilot and skydiver, this guest has continually pushed the boundaries of what's possible. As a life coach, he inspires others to achieve their fullest potential, all while maintaining his status as a super athlete, competing in some of the world's most grueling races. His story is one of relentless determination, proving that with passion and consistency, one can truly become the hero of their own adventure. It's Alvaro Núñez. Hey! How are
Hey,
you
what's
doing?
going on? Amazing. So excited to be here with you today.
Well, thank you for making the time. I know you're on vacation right now in Greece.
Listen, there is no such thing. You always work hard and play harder. You can do both.
Oh, that we're definitely going to talk about. First of all, I want to tell people how Alvaro and I met. We actually met in Miami about a year ago, right?
Yeah?
In Formula One. That was amazing. So basically, I went to Miami. I got invited to Formula One there, had the most amazing experience. And I think I was kind of like confused in my life, like, if do I want to live in Miami? What do I want to do? And I met you through Marcel here in
Yeah.
Mallorca. I said to
hmm
Marcel, I want to look at the best real estate in Miami. Who do I go to? And he was like, oh, you want to go to Alvaro. And at that time, you were doing that crazy race,
hmm
which
The one
was
in the
six
desert.
marathons in 6 days in the desert.
That's right.
That is right. And when I heard that, I was like, I seen it on your social media and I was like, oh my God, wait, this guy does real estate, not just any real estate. Like, this is the creme de la creme. Like, this is up, up, up. And I was like, what the hell is he doing in the middle of the desert, running 6 marathons in 6 days with, was it 10 kilos on your back?
Yeah, you need to carry all your food and supplies with you, along with the weight that I was carrying, which represented the weight of depression, as I was doing this race for awareness on those that were struggling with depression.
Now, that's really interesting because when I was going through that phase a year ago, I was really suffering from anxiety. So when I seen you doing that with that weight of depression, it really inspired me to do something in the future for people that have suffered with anxiety. And it was something that you and I talked about. Now, why depression? Why that subject?
I think that the question is more about what's the purpose that go beyond yourself, right? And for me, I know that there is a lot of different reasons that I can be doing this race for, but I wanted to attach it to something that was really going deep into
Mm-hmm.
something that was happening close to me. And depression is something that not necessarily I've experienced, but I've had friends and family members that are no longer here with us, and it was due to depression. And one of the reasons that we see so many people having not just those difficult moments in their lives that they might be facing depression, but it's that stigma that if they speak up about how they feel, what people will think. And that's why I've noticed that a lot of people keep that weight inside. And that's why this campaign became the weight of depression, so that we will help people to open up, to share that weight with me so that I could carry that across the most difficult race in the world, which was the Marathon des Sables, 6 marathons in 6 days across the Sahara Desert in Morocco.
That was incredible. And I have to say, I think it's really amazing, like someone like yourself that's now successful, you've got your life together, you've got where you want to get, or you're at least getting on that track, that you bring awareness to this, because sometimes those subjects, people don't really want to talk about it. And it takes someone like yourself to bring awareness to it. So I think that was so inspiring when I met you. Something that I've always wanted to do, still will do, and it's definitely on the to-do list is I want to do Kilimanjaro. And
Yes.
it's still just because the bikini fitness competitions came in the way, but we'll get on to that in a minute. But when I met you, I was like, fuck, I want to do this. I want to have it like, I won't do it with 10 kilos. I'll do it with like 5 kilos on my back to represent women or people that have suffered from anxiety, something that I thought was like a lot of rubbish. And it really, really took me, it was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever went through. And I thought, God, I want to do that. And we were really talking about it and looking into it. And it's something I absolutely want to do. And because I seen that you were doing that, it really inspired me to be like, stop saying, oh, in 2 years or in my life, I'll do it. Do it now.
That's so true. A lot of people wait for a future tomorrow that might never come. And you want to just take
Exactly.
action right away on something that really resonates with you. Because a lot of times the reason that we put things to in the back burner or later in life is because we don't have a strong why attached to it. So I always say that whatever it is that you want to do in life, ask yourself why. And if you find the right reason, you're going to definitely find the motivation to get started.
Yeah. I mean, when I met you, that was when you introduced me to this.
Ah,
Now,
you got it. Level up.
absolutely, I've got it. I am lucky enough to have it signed as well.
Ooh, yes.
But I'm being super honest. I don't read a lot of books. And the reason it's not because, oh, I'm not intelligent or anything like that. I love reading biographies. I love being able to learn from people's mistakes and also their good things. And when you gave me this, I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this long haul flight on the way back to Mallorca and I can read this. And I was so, I mean, I was even texting like, oh my God, there's so much things in your story. I was like, that I could relate to. It's a biography, but it's also got tips in it and tools that you can use to not even like just in career wise, it could just be in life that you can use
Hmm.
to get those things. And that's what I loved about it so much. I'm now reading it for the second time, and I'm not a book person, and I've absolutely loved this. And when I was going through my hard time, I kept saying to my girlfriends that I was like, this book, I'm gonna go and read Alvaro's books. And they were like, who the hell is this guy? What have you done? I was like, he's done this race. I'm gonna do this, and it's just I related a lot to it. So basically, for those that don't know, you were a struggling tennis player, right? This is
Yes.
how your life started. And
Hmm.
I immediately had a connection to that because my brother was a professional tennis player. He was, good enough to play in Wimbledon. He played in the Davis Cup for Britain several times. And that was one of the reasons why we built a connection to Mallorca, was because we came here for him to play tennis. So straight away, I knew that tennis is a struggle. It's
Yeah.
probably, I think, one of the hardest sports out there to compete in. Um, it's so when you wrote that, I was like, I had a connection. I also wanted to be a tennis player, but then I kind of realized, and I think my dad guided me more into professional golf. I then went on to play
Hmm.
professional golf because he was like, tennis is tough. It's not a joke. So
Yeah.
you're originally from Madrid, right?
Yes.
And then you had this American dream.
Hmm. Which, by the way, the American dream is something that you don't even know until life just happens to you, right? And I think that talking about your brother, it's very remarkable what he accomplished because it's not easy. It's not easy to play
Mm.
in Wimbledon. It's not easy to reach a high level. And for me, it was more about, all right, I'm a kid. What do I do in life? I get good grades and I work out and play tennis hard so that I can become a professional at some point in my life. My parents were very supportive, but that was my journey. And then I had no idea about American dream or what I will do later in life. You're just excited about potentially becoming a professional athlete. And of course, Mallorca is a great destination. And I understand your brother because for me, growing up, watching Rafael Nadal, and I always thought, oh, he's from Mallorca and like all these things. Like
Yeah.
I thought always about how can I learn from the best tennis players in the world so that I can become one? And through that journey, things happen that are out of your control, but how you react to it is what matters. So for me, it was more about, all right, I'm currently going through, I will say, really wake up call or something that is just a crossroads, right? And in the book, I mentioned it, a crossroads decision. I was going in this direction of trying to become a professional tennis player at a young age. I was in a really elite athlete school where I had, you were in golf, so you probably know John Ram. John Ram was in my class, and he now became one of the best golf players in the world. So when you look at the chances of you becoming a professional tennis player, you always want to look into, well, I have a chance. But then you realize that the reality is completely different. I had a conversation with my coach when I was 16, because he was right at that time where my father had a heart attack. We had a huge economical crisis worldwide, but especially in Spain.
That was like your first, like, boom, wasn't it?
Boom. Yeah,
it was
of course.
Like your that going through that with your dad. You said that in the book. You said that was my first, like, whoa, wait a minute.
That changes your perspective in life. Like all of a sudden, we were having a really nice life, and all of a sudden, we were just trying to survive. We lost everything, and having the financials to support that journey of me becoming a professional tennis player didn't seem as attainable. And all of a sudden, we had a really raw conversation with my coach, who said, look, right now, if you look at who lives well out of tennis, is the top 100. When you look at the top 100, you always see that there is 5 to 10 people that enter the top 100 every year and that leave the top 100. It's usually the same people. 90% are the same tennis players. Like that's why you've seen so many of these Nadal, Federer, Djokovic for years being in the top 100. Now, for you to make it in those 5 to 10 people so that you can live out of tennis, the chances are so minimal. And by the way, you're 16 years old. If you look at the average of the age of everyone that is at the top 100, is in the mid-20s. So if you look at that and you're 16, that means that you're going to still have to invest for at least a decade for you to potentially make it in that 0.00001%. So look, at that point, you got to be realistic and still fight for your dreams, but expand your mind and realize that tennis is not everything.
I think it's like, exactly. I mean, it's the same with me with golf. It was like, it was everything. And then when I grew up in life, I was like, why did I put so much pressure on myself? Golf, it's a game. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, where was the fun element? Where was those things? But I think Alvaro and I, what we're trying to say is, don't anyone that's aspiring to be a sports person or whatever it is you want to do in life, that's great and go for it. But you also have to be realistic and know what it is that you're up against. You know what I mean? And I think when, correct me if I'm wrong, when you basically, your coach said to you, you need to train harder, you need to train smart, and all you heard was, you need to train harder. So what did you do? As a young boy, you just went completely hard, too hard. You ended up injuring yourself quite badly. I think you broke your foot, no?
Yeah.
And then that was like a real like pause, and you were like, shit, he said smarter as well. And I didn't listen to that.
But it's one of those things that I always really disagree when it comes to labeling things, right? Like, oh, realistic, unrealistic, possible, not possible. I always think that whatever is in your mind is what's going to happen. Everything happens twice. First in your mind and then in reality. I always say that the distance between your dreams and reality is between your ears, and that's in your mind. So whenever I thought about becoming a professional tennis player or not, it was not about if it was realistic or not. It was more about expanding my mind and understand that there's a bigger picture. So what do I want to become a tennis professional for? Is it to really just myself, or so that I can help my family, or so that I can build a family, or so that I can give back to a community, or so that I can inspire others? So whatever those elements are, I can do them through tennis or through other things. But tennis became a tool that I use as leverage to then get to the States. I got a scholarship. I was able to go to the US, build myself a nice career, expand my mind, meet new people, and build a career that, thanks to tennis, I was able to accomplish. And that's what led to do multiple other things, but the discipline remained.
I think one part of your story, without even maybe you knowing it at a young age, was when Alvaro did get a scholarship to go to America, and it was far from what you envisioned. He had this vision in his mind, like Miami, the palm trees, your white Audi, loving America. And when you got there where you went, it wasn't, you were like, this is far from what I expected.
Yeah.
But you kind of said, okay, I need to kind of start here. You were into your tennis, but what I think drove you as well and made you the person you are today is that you weren't like, you had that financial struggle as well going on. So you got yourself any job, you went to the college, you said, what jobs is there? And the job happened to be cleaning around the tennis courts. So there was this guy in America cleaning up after all the tennis boys. The tennis boys kind of looked to you and said, they asked you, they said, what went wrong? What have you done wrong? And you're like, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just making money. And I think sometimes if you do have it very easy, you had that drive in you. You know what I mean? So
It's
that
so
was
true
also
what
a
you said
crucial
there.
part.
No, and I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of times, a lot of people talk about the why. And myself, I'm a big fan of like focusing on the power of why, but also about the how. How is what builds character. And sometimes you gotta go through difficult situations to build character. And for me, it was about not having it easy that made me who I am today. So going into the only job available at that time that I could get, which was in the maintenance department, is what built not just the character, but also the values, because I had it easy at home at the beginning of my life. And then it was going to the university, being in a completely uncomfortable environment, and supposedly becoming the captain of the tennis team and being that star champion. And all of a sudden I break my foot, I'm on crutches, and I'm just having this maintenance department job, which I'm picking up trash, cutting grass, and I'm doing it while having a broken foot. So it was a little bit of humiliating at first, but that's what became also humbling, because it humbles you and you start realizing that, hey, this is a very respectful job. You're making money to survive, to pay for the things you need. And there's other people that do this for a living to support their family. So it really changes the way that you look at life. And I think that tough situations are the ones that turn man and woman or any individual into a stronger person that will help really have a stronger impact in our society.
1,000,000%. I mean, you've had your difficult times and I've also had mine. And I feel that, recently I was doing an event at Soho House in Barcelona. And at the start, when I was planning the event, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter if just 2 people come. At least I'm talking to people and I'm practicing what I want to say and I can repeat it another time. And the girl that she helps me with everything, she was like, yeah, okay. And she was like, but I think you're going to get more than 2 people. And I was like, well, I don't know. We'll see. And we put a max of 20 people in the event because I also wanted people to lie down and kind of not do a meditation, but kind of talk them through something in their minds to get them thinking. So we said, okay, 20 people will fit in the room nicely. Cool. And when I was talking to her about like maybe 2 people coming, I went onto the Soho House app and I was like, let's see how many people have, signed up for it. Or I don't know what happens if I say I want to sign up. Does it say how many people? And when I clicked on it to sign up, it said, I'm sorry, this event's full. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, wait, is there 20 people? And I was like, no, that can't be. And Izzy, my assistant, she was like, no, that can't be. We just put it on last night. It can't be. So she contacted Soho House and they're like, no, it's full. There's also another 10 on the waiting list. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay, hold on a minute. We need to get ready here. Okay. And then they said, do you want to extend the group? And I was like, of course. Yeah, let's make it 30 people. And what I'm getting at is that wouldn't have happened if I didn't go through all my stuff that I've been through. And in this event, it was about my matcha brand. So I have I've got a healthy cafe here in Mallorca that focuses on like healthy smoothies, juices, salads. We also do catering for all the yachts as well. And then I obviously have Trendy Talk, which came from me wanting to bring awareness to things. And I have my matcha brand as well, which I'm a big matcha latte fan. So we were like, okay, we should create your own brand. And then, of course, I have my fitness side, which is just Amy Lauren. And that's where I do all my bikini fitness competitions and soon to climb Kilimanjaro with my 5 kilos.
Hey, there you
Um,
go.
but a thing that I talked about and I want to ask you is in this event at Soho, I took people through things and shared with them what tools do I use in my businesses. And there's a many kind of parts to it. And I would say one is a huge support system. It can be you've got a beautiful partner, she's always by your side at everything, that's your support system as well. If she didn't support you and all of your crazy runs and whatever it is that you do and jumping out planes and whatnot, that would, then it's like, it's kind of, I've seen this video this morning that says like an elastic band. If someone restricts you, you can only go so far,
So
and one of
true.
those things is having those people around you. What is something that you would recommend or you would say is like your secret to success? Like what tools do you use as well?
I say that energy is the current currency for personal and professional success. And this is something that I think is very basic, very simple, yet very strong. Because energy is something that you can control right away. A lot of people always say, yes, you're successful because you went to this school, or you did this, or you
Yeah.
have that, or this connection. But the reality is that we all start at some point. And the thing that we have control on is our energy. And people can talk
Mm-hmm.
about law of attraction, manifestation, whatever you want. I do believe in the power of energy. If I go with a positive attitude, if I go with that strong energy through anything I do in life, I'm going to start attracting the right people, the right opportunities. And this is something that you can just look at yourself in the mirror and start practicing that. Elevate yourself. Once you elevate yourself, once you vibrate higher, things will come your way.
We're going to take a small break from Trendy Talk, guys, to let me introduce you to Coco's Deli, a beautiful little deli in the heart of Puerto Portales, Mallorca. This healthy cafe does amazing coffees, lattes. It's there for your breakfast, brunch, and lunches. There to cater for gluten-free and vegan, and of course, that famous matcha latte. See you soon. 1,000,000%. I mean, this is basically going back to your tennis. So you were on the tennis roll. You basically needed a visa, right, to stay in
Yeah.
America, and you wanted to get a working visa. So to do that, I believe there was like a kind of program where you could play the tennis,
hmm
but also get like a kind of a job on the side, right?
hmm
And you
It's called
were, I
OPT.
wish, OPT, exactly. So you, I mean, it's amazing that you even thought this. You at that age were thinking, okay, do I want to go for a big company or do I want to have a small company and really build myself up in that company? And you decided to go for a small company, which a lot of people would have been like, I want to work for this big mega company. And they would have
hmm
just been like a small fish in like in a big pond, And you're like, no,
Yeah.
I want to work my way up. I want to get to startup. And another thing that I related in your story was, yeah, I mean, it was nuts. I've written down like your schedule during this time. It was crazy. You woke up at 2:45. You then studied from 3 a.m. until 5:30 a.m. You then did a workout. You said you did a little workout from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. And then you hit the office at 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. And then the next day, the same thing. And this was all because you were so driven to get that working visa.
Yes, that was a really intense time of my life, which again, we talk about the how. How do I get a work visa? That's what's gonna build my character. I didn't want to become a regular employee at a big company and just have a nice year through this OPT, which is a year where you can work after you graduate. But then later on, you have to either leave the country or the company will sponsor you through a work visa, which is only if you are a valuable employee and that they cannot find or replace with anybody from the US. So for me, I
Right.
was let me become the most important asset for this organization, that no matter where they look in the country, they're not going to find anybody like me. And that's why I always think that wherever you have determination and a purpose, then you're going to find the way to making it work. For me, it was more about how can I already set up my intentions and make them public, make them already out to the world so that I create this manifestation. So the first thing I did when I started in this company was talking directly to my boss and telling exactly what I was looking for. Is, look, I want to become the director of operations, and this is what I would like to do. I would like to coach your son for free because I see that you're taking him for tennis lessons. I would like to coach him and to play once a week in exchange of once a month for you to sit down for a coffee and mentor me to help me get to this position. That shows initiative. That shows character.
What age were you then?
22.
I mean, that's young. Like, your thinking at that age is very mature.
Sometimes you have no other option. When you get everything handed to you, you don't need to mature. You just have it.
I mean,
When
was your
you
mom
were
guiding you,
struggling,
or who was kind of saying to you, hey, why don't you do this? Or
nobody. At the end of the day, you start learning from life. That's why I always think that it's good to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because that's what is going to help you grow. If I have everything handed over to me, then I probably wouldn't find a way. But if I have to find a way, then I have to find a way. And you got to stay
this is
awake
funny
and active.
because I played professional golf, right? So I'm not speaking for every sportsman out there, but I feel that people that have been in sports or professional sports at a young age, we are a little bit, let's say, spoiled in the fact that, like, I was 18, I didn't know how the dishwasher worked, I didn't know how the washing machine worked, I didn't know how to cook, I had everything done for me. I was traveling, playing golf. When I came back, would give my mum my laundry bag, you know, go for my golf lessons, and that was all I kind of cared about, and that was my focus. Then my parents got a divorce, and that was like, whoa. And I remember I was left at home for like maybe 3 weeks, and I just got my driving license, and I was like, fuck, I'm like, you know, messing around with like the dishwasher, and like, and then I was like, my God, like, shit, I had it good, you know? And then you start getting in the deep end. And what happened was I was like, okay, golf is not really working out right now, especially with my parents' situation. It kind of got put way back. I also then kind of noticed for the first time, like, financial, not the struggle, but the real life, probably for the first time. I had a car, I had to put fuel in my car, and my golf course was far away from my house here in Mallorca. And I was like, well, if I go to the golf course today, I won't have enough fuel for X, Y, and Z. So then I started realizing, like, shit, okay, I need to get a job. And the good thing was, I left school when I was 16. My parents said, that's fine, but you have to study something on the side. And as I've came from a sporty family, my brother was a tennis player, my dad was a professional footballer. I was always kind of into fitness, and at a young age, I would go to the gym to either see my brother or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'll study like personal training and I'll study nutrition on the side. So when that happened, that my parents split, and all of a sudden I was like, shit, I need to start making money. I was like, okay, I remember I got in touch with like a friend of a friend who just started a business that printed like flyers, you know, like these. And I said to him, do you want to print me flyers for like a boot camp? I'm just going to start a boot camp on the beach. And he was like, okay, yeah. I literally paid him, I think, 20 euros to print 500 flyers. And I remember I walked all around the area of Portals, which is a very great area here in Mallorca. And on every lamppost, I just stuck up this boot camp flyer, right? And I walked by while I was doing these flyers. You will love this. This is a very like Alvaro move. I walked by the St. Regis Hotel in Mallorca, probably the best hotel on the island. One of the best hotel groups in the world. And I thought, I wonder, and it's so innocent, I thought, I wonder if their clients would be interested in coming to my boot camp. So I just walked into the spa with my flyer, And I said, I'm a personal trainer, and I was just looking to see if any of your clients would be interested coming to my boot camp. And they were like, oh, the boss actually, his office is there. I was like, perfect, that's great. Sat and talked with him, and he was like, we're actually looking for a personal trainer here. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
okay. And he was like, do you speak German? And in that time, I literally knew like 3 words in German. But on the job interview, yes, I can speak German because I'll learn it. Okay. I was like, yeah, I speak German. And he was like, do you can you give yoga? And I'm like, yeah, I can give yoga. Like, no, I'll Google it, I'll learn it, I'll wing it. I don't care. I just need this job. And he was like,
hmm.
okay, yeah, okay, well, think about send me your CV. I'm like, CV, I don't really have a CV, but okay, fine. Made one up. I got the job. And that was just, and from there, I got so many opportunities. I had
Oh yeah.
clients, I met like, people just inviting me onto their yacht, train me here. And what I did, which was also, I guess, looking back, a very intelligent thing to do at that age, was instead of just throwing my money away, I would go to Nike and spend €500 because I thought if I look good for my clients and I invest in myself, they're going to want to train me
Oh
more.
yeah.
Or
Hmm.
another person will see me and be like, shit, she looks good. She looks fit. I want her to train me, you know?
So true. So true. I know it's a great story, and I think that a lot of people they get derailed by obstacles, or sometimes they have this analysis paralysis. They're trying to figure out what's the perfect way to get what they want, when in reality it's just taking action. And I always say, whatever choices you have in front of you, always go with the one that you are the most afraid of, because that's what's going to take you towards the success. And you were doing things that, hey, it seemed uncomfortable, it seems out of the ordinary, and that's what got you the job, and that's what started to build momentum on your career. So kudos to you, and I think that there is a lot of similarities on how I started when I started to use tennis as leverage, on how I could teach tennis at these expensive
Exactly.
buildings and getting clients, so that eventually I will build a relationship to hand a job for this business.
That was something I wanted to ask you. So basically, when you were, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, while you were at college, you then, I don't know why, what brought you to Miami, and you kind of got into these expensive buildings
Hmm.
and that had tennis courts, and you kind of hung around the tennis courts, people watched, and then just kind of gave people tips, which then led
Yeah.
you on to you teaching them. But how did you get into these buildings?
So it's a great question. I mean, look, I always had that vision of wanting to be in Miami. So I went in there afterwards when I graduated from New Mexico, and I went to South Florida to get my master's, also using tennis as leverage. And I always knew that tennis was going to get me to a certain point in my life. I always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have my own business, and I had this mindset of wanting to expand. And I knew that one of the best ways to expand is by having the right circle. We talked about it at the beginning. It's about the people that you know. And I really didn't know that many people. However, how do I get myself into these successful circles? Well, there is something in there that I can be of service or of value. And at the time, one of the only things that I had is tennis. That's where I invested most of my time and energy on. So how can I start giving value to people through tennis? And I said, well, let's just go and teach tennis. And rather than just trying to get a job as a tennis coach in all these places, I decided to just show up and just start giving tips right away. So I said, where are the most expensive buildings in Miami that have a tennis court? Because that's where I'm going to meet the most interesting people. Now, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, dress for success. I was dressing completely as a professional tennis player. I'm 193 meters, looking good with my hat, great sports gear, the tennis basket with all the balls, everything. So I was just trying to show up. And when I was going into the security, they told me, where are you heading? So I'm going straight to the tennis court to teach tennis. It's like, oh, okay. Um, who are you teaching? It's like, oh, I'm having a lesson there. Okay. And if you look confident, it's like when you were a kid and trying to get into a club. If you look confident, if they look at you and you look apart and everything is good, they'll let you in. So I was just like going straight confident about it, and I was able to get in. And then after that, I was just sitting there at the tennis courts, and I was just giving advice to anybody that I saw playing. And then they liked the advice or not, but whoever was happy to engage in a conversation asked me, hey, you teach tennis? And I said, yes, I do. Oh, okay, amazing. Well, can we do a lesson? Yes, when? And boom, now you start booking those lessons. You start with one and then the other. I started to coach the president of Esther Lauder and then the guy that runs this big organization and then this and that.
Perfect.
And what you said about it with your example is that once you start getting with whatever first job you got, you build momentum for the next one. And there is this referral network of people saying, oh my God, I'm training with Amy or I'm training with Alvaro. And then boom, 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 boom. And you always have that bigger vision in mind. You don't just want to get stuck with teaching. You want to look at the bigger vision. So for me, I always, again, manifested, talk about what I wanted. Oh, I'm finishing my master's and I'm looking for a marketing position at a startup. So if you have any recommendation, we'll appreciate it. You're connecting now in a different degree. You're not just sending your CV via LinkedIn or email. You're now connecting straight to the top people.
And that's how you got your first job.
That's how I did it. And then, look, you always want to learn from the different experiences that you go through life, but don't let the circumstances that you have stop you. Find a way, stay active. Let your mind keep on working. And look, now people look at me, especially on social media, it's like, oh my God, this guy is selling super expensive homes, traveling around the world, helicopter pilot, doing all these challenges, jumping out of planes, you name it. And the reality is that I didn't come from super wealthy family and had it all figured out. We all go through difficulties. We all go through moments. But the difference is that I didn't let those obstacles derail me. Rather, I turned them into superpowers, which is what the book is about, is turning your obstacles into superpowers.
Yes. Well, I think that there's a balance between you, those people that you were teaching, giving advice to, you were this very lightly say, not using them, but you were using them as leverage, but also there's sometimes having that mindset. I'm just trying to think of people looking at you and going, shit, I want to be like him. And then after, hearing you talk, they're like, okay, I'm just gonna, when people don't, you got to value the people as well around you as well. I'm sure you had a lot of respect for them as well. And teaching tennis wasn't always what you wanted to do. You used it in a way, you used your tennis and everything, but you had that end goal. But at the same time, it's like you can't treat the people that are helping you get there.
Totally. And look, I think that at the end of the day, there is a philosophy in life, which is about give. And then you can ask. A lot of people only ask, and a lot of people also only give. But there is a balance in between. So for me, I always come from how can I add value? And that's one of the first questions that I ask myself always. And especially at the beginning, when you're starting and you don't have really anything going on in your life, you want to go from a position of service. How can I service others? How can I help? How can I add value? And for me, it was through tennis. If I had to stay an extra 30 minutes for free, I will do it. No problem. If I had to go and do something that it was not part of what I was supposed to do, that's fine too. And the reality is that you add value until a certain point, and that's when you ask. And you ask. And for me, it was asking about really what I was looking for. So I'm not using anything. I'm just offering value. I'm offering my services. And then eventually I'll ask also, because you don't get if you don't ask.
What happened when you put all that effort in? And I wanted to ask you, for how long were you doing that schedule that we were talking about, the 2:45 a.m. wake up calls, the working until 8 p.m. How long were you doing that for? And what, in the end, you didn't get that working visa. And how did that feel? Did you feel, you must have felt like giving up at that point. You must have felt like, do you know what? This isn't for me. It hasn't worked out. Fuck this. I'm going back to Madrid. Whatever. I'll teach tennis.
It's an interesting story, because after doing all these tennis lessons, eventually connected with a businessman that started this marketing agency. I got a really great job to start with. And I initially just said it right from the get-go, what my goals were. It's like, okay, I want to become the director of operations. And after 2 months being in this company, I was able to become the director of operations. And I had over 100 people under my name at the age of 23. Now, the reason that this happened is because I put the hours. Nobody's going to hand you anything for free. But I had a direction, and I knew that I had to put the work. And for me, it was, all right, let me sign up for an executive program at Harvard, trying to figure out how to become the best version of myself at this supposedly high-end position of director of operations. So I was studying really early in the morning to do this. Then I was trying to stay mentally and physically fit by going to the gym. And then I was becoming a really accountable person by being the first one on the company arriving at the office. And then I was working long hours and I was the last one to leave the office. So I was leading by example and always trying to leverage whatever we had to be more efficient. So I don't think that we need to just compare ourselves with what everyone else is doing, but compare yourself to yourself, right? And I think that I always say this is comparison is the thief of joy. So always look into how can you become a better version of yourself. So for me, it was always about every day, the continuously never-ending improvement. How can I become better? How can I become better so that I can serve better to my team and to the clients that we have? And then eventually what happened is that I did this for a whole almost year while I was doing this OPT. And what happened is that...
You must have been exhausted.
Oh, I was definitely exhausted. And what happened is that I didn't get the work visa, not because I burned out or because, I did not perform at the job, was because there is only a 50% chance that your case is going to be, really looked into. And the reason for it is because there's so many cases. So the immigration lawyer that I was working with said, look, Alvaro, unfortunately, you didn't pass the lottery, because that's what it's called. It's called a lottery.
I think they didn't even look at your working visa, did they?
They didn't even look.
And what happened is that I put it into the story, but I guess calls are coming in. No, I didn't get the work visa. And what happened is I said, man, all this work, all this effort, and I did not get the work visa. And what happened is that my boss said, look, unfortunately, we cannot have you stay in the company if you have to leave the country. We need somebody to run the company here. So I got fired and I had to leave the country right away. So I had two choices: go back to Spain, to a comfortable environment where everybody said that I will be able to get an easy 9-to-5 job because I had a great resume, great experience coming from the US, doing this incredible job. I will have no problems getting a good job in Spain. But that's another wake-up call. That's where you realize that, what? I was not happy. I was doing all this work and effort to just one part of my life, which was my career. I didn't do anything else on these other areas of the wheel of life. So when I was looking at my relationships, they were terrible because I was not investing in relationships anymore. I had a girlfriend for years and we broke up because I literally put zero effort and attention in our relationship. I was so consumed on becoming this best version of myself at my job that I forgot about everything else. Socially, didn't even go out, didn't do nothing. Physically, I went to the gym here and there, but I was being consumed by what I was doing. Story short, I was able to realize that I was not fulfilled, I was not happy, and it was an opportunity for me to finally look into what I wanted to do in life. And I started to look at the wheel of life, that there were more different things that matter, not just your career. So that's when you need to ask yourself, what is something that I'm passionate about? It's about visualizing the vehicle that is going to allow you to live the lifestyle of your dreams. So for me, it was about building a business that fuels my passion. So that's the question that a lot of us don't even ask ourselves. It's like, what am I passionate about? And you don't need to have a passion to start with. You can just be curious. I was curious about certain things. And if you don't try things, you don't know what you like or what you don't like. For me, at least, I had already certain passions that I wanted to go towards. Was traveling, what's luxury real estate, experiences, connecting with people. So I said, how do I put all those things in one business, in one idea, and execute it? So at least whatever it is that I'm building is going to be something that I'm passionate about. And fairly enough, I ended up moving to Dominican Republic and started a vacation rental business.
Yeah, why Dominican Republic? Where did that come from? Was this something to do with your mom?
Yes. So yeah, she moved to the Dominican Republic and everybody else was in Spain. She started to sell real estate in Dominican Republic. And one of the guys that bought a property from her said, look, I'm not going to be there more than twice a year. So could you rent it short term? And she's like, all right, yes, sure. but she never really
And
rented.
this is when your light bulb just
No,
went
my mom
like
said, listen,
pink.
this is an opportunity. Come check it out. Come to Dominican Republic, and hey, you have great
Hmm.
marketing background. You love all these things. Come check it out. And then what you realize is that there was an
I think
opportunity there.
what you did was completely different though, because a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people, especially kind of like when I was in golf, for example, and I really needed a sponsor, I would kind of go home at night after being, golf is a luxury sport. It's an expensive sport. You're around, businessmen with you see fancy cars on the car park, and it's not cheap. And then you go home at night, and I'm like, why don't they sponsor me? Why don't they sponsor me? And it's like, looking back, it's like, did you make an effort, Lauren? Did you go and talk with him? Did you show any interest in him? No, and some people are like, oh, he's got this. People will look at you now and be like, well, he's got this and he's got that and and it's like, hello, did you just read his schedule for a year? Did you just read all the bullshit that he's been through to get there? And when you got to, I mean, that must have just been so heartbreaking for you after 1 year of putting in all that work and then kind of for nothing, not getting the visa, being like, oh, okay, what do I do? I've kind of built things up here for nothing. But then you've seen an opportunity when you went to Dominican
Mhm.
Republic, your mom said to you, listen, we can rent out these houses, etc. But you actually went to people's doors and knocked on them and was like, hey, I've seen last week you weren't here. Are you here, 2 times a year? Yeah, I'm here 2 times a year. Do you want to make some money?
Yeah,
Do you want to rent out your house? And because you went to the
yeah.
doors, no one else did it for you.
It is funny, but it is true. At the end of the day, nobody's going to hand anything to you. You need to go and get it. And when you need it, you'll find a way. Sometimes we kind of want it, but we don't really go for it, right? It's just positioning yourself in a way that no matter what, I'm going to make it happen. And when you find that type of angle so that your mindset shifts, and it's not like, if I don't get it, that's fine. Because then you're going to really work hard. You're just going to like maybe kind of do it. But if you get yourself
Yeah.
deep into it, you'll find a way. And for me, it was like, all right, I'm here, Dominican Republic. I'm going to put all my effort into this, start door knocking. I started to talk to the housekeeper or whoever was in the house and say, hey, could I speak to the owner? Oh, it's in Canada. Oh, it's in Russia. Or is it somewhere else? Okay, could I get on a phone call with that owner? Here's my information. This is what I'm trying to propose. And guess what? You always dress for success. So I was in the middle of the hot Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
weather on a suit, well prepared, well showing there, and telling them that I had an opportunity for the business owner or the property owner to really generate some cash flow through their home while they are not using it. And that
For their
was
property.
it. And then once you start showing the business model and you start getting a couple of those properties in your portfolio and you start trying to find a way to rent them out, you build strategic partnerships. So for me, it was more about leveraging now other things. So who are the companies that these big celebrities work with so that I can go towards those companies and offer them our properties for their portfolio? Because one of the realities is that these properties were not in the high-end portfolios of these top companies because Dominican Republic was not really on the map for this particular clientele. But one of the things that I realized is that you're going to put the same type of effort on working on little apartments in the middle of nowhere versus the most expensive waterfront properties. So if I'm going to put the same amount of effort, may as well just go straight to the bigger leagues. And this is what scares a lot of people. It's like, oh, I need to build my way up. It's like, yes, build your way up, but already being in that league. Nobody's telling you you cannot play those big leagues. That's just in your mind, just your imagination. I have access to door knock these type of homes. I might as well do this. Why would I put my energy on door
Yeah.
knocking an apartment in the middle of nowhere? So that's how I kind of started. And I always say this, whenever I have choices in front of my face, I said, okay, what am I the most afraid of? This choice or this one? And wherever I'm the most afraid of, I choose that. And it's always been working well because that's what expands your mind, expands your possibilities. And from this, it was a great opportunity to keep growing through these partnerships and eventually realize that, hey, I can become also one of these big companies. So decided to go international and started to travel, connecting with local partners, build strategic partnerships. And that's how the business started, really.
I think that you definitely put that, you know, you use those downs to always bring you up, you
Hmm.
know? And that's something I think for the first time in my life, when I'd met you in Miami, when I was going through my down, I was full of anxiety. I'd lost a lot of weight. Um, my skin was really bad. I wasn't sleeping. It was just awful. I was so lost. And it was a friend of mine. She said, Lauren, you can be the hero of your own story,
Mm.
or you can be the victim.
Yeah.
And she was like, so you can decide. And I was like, fuck. And, she's a life coach. And I was actually, the first week I went to her kind of master class, and my life was fucking great. And I was smiling. And I was like, why am I here? My life is perfect. She just asked me to come as a friend, support her. And 1 week later, 7 days later, I came out a completely broken girl. And I was like, shit, I actually need this group more than anything. And a lot of pattern happened. A lot of people, write down your dream. What's your dream? What do you want to start? Is it a
Hmm.
business? Is it a family? Is it your boyfriend's toxic? Is it you don't feel like that person's doing you any good, that friend, or whatever it is? Write it down. And if it's, for example, I've got a really toxic friend, I don't feel good after I meet with her, why are you still friends with her? And it's fear. It's the fear. Oh, but I don't want to hurt her. Oh, but and as you said, fear gets in people's ways a lot, is the fear factor. And then what happens is when they do these things, where they do tell that toxic friend, I'm sorry, but we need to set some boundaries. When they do tell that horrible boyfriend, no, you're toxic, you're jealous, you're narcissist, I don't like you, or whatever it is, or they change that job that they don't like, or they move to Mallorca or Greece or wherever it is that they've always dreamt of, they normally say to themselves afterwards, oh, why didn't I do that before?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, sometimes a lot of people don't make decisions. They're just pushed towards be doing these things because they have no other choice. So if
True.
you are always proactively trying to, don't wait to be in a situation where you don't have another choice. Try to always be proactively looking on what is that next thing that you want to do to expand towards your dreams. So having that vision is very important because it kind of keeps you always aligning to where you're heading, and having that strong why as a purpose will be the fuel to move forward. Even though you might feel discouraged, not motivated, whatever the case is, there is always going to be something. But you said something really cool that your friend told you, and I always agree with that. You are the hero of your own journey.
Yeah.
And when you look at it as, okay, I'm the main character of the movie, or the main character of the book in this case, right? Level Up. It's always fascinating to think about
Gotta
it.
hear it.
Yes, it's always fascinating to think about it that way, because whenever something happens in your life that is negative or that might be an adversity, I always look at what are some of the movies or books that I've read or watched where the main character was struggling. I connected with that person. And then I was so
Mm-hmm.
happy when the main character, the hero, was able to reach that success and complete that dream or that goal. So for me, I always look at it that way. My story is going to be way more exciting looking back when I knew that I overcame certain challenges. If it was easy and everything was handed over to me, what's the excitement there, right? So I always like to find resistance in life. If I'm not finding resistance, that means that I'm not pushing myself strong enough. And look, everything is something.
Well, you're definitely pushing yourself in the real estate market, because the penthouses I've seen in Miami, wow, one of them I fell completely in love with. And what I fell in love with is a very strange thing, was the bathroom. And I think it is the nicest, what penthouse
Yeah.
I'm talking
Mhm.
about. I think I've seen it recently featured on the Netflix series Buying Beverly
Beverly Hills.
Hills,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And I was like, oh, I was like, that's my
Yeah.
penthouse. Get out of my bathroom. This bathroom is beautiful marble. It's wow. I was just like, and it's huge. It was, you could just live in that bathroom, and it had a beautiful sauna and steam. If you guys haven't seen it, you have to go check it out in Buying Beverly Hills, because it is next level. And that was thanks to you. We've seen all these amazing properties, like the swimming pools that you can have in penthouses is just insane. How did you get into Miami? How did we get from Dominican Republic to then Miami?
Right. It's an interesting journey because I always wanted to get into the luxury real estate space somehow, and I entered through the luxury villa rentals. And from Dominican Republic, I started to work with certain type of clientele via these partnerships that we had. And then eventually I said, look, I want to be that big company. So I may as well myself expand internationally and become that big company. So I started to build those local relationships with some of the companies that were in those jet set locations, whether it was here in Mykonos, like I am right now, or Ibiza, south of France, and decided to start expanding the business at that level and start bringing on ambassadors, which were influencers at the time, or other luxury brands, to just create a whole network of individuals that will help us bring the exposure, bring the clientele, bring everything that we were trying to combine to provide the best villas along with the best service. And from there forward, COVID happened. And again, turning an obstacle into a superpower. COVID happened. Vacation rentals were shut down. People were not traveling. We had to give all the money back from all the reservations that we had for the upcoming months. And instead of saying, oh, we go bankrupt, end of the story, I said, look, you know what? I'm going to get myself an investor visa. I'm going to get myself back to Miami, which is one of the hottest places. And I'm going to turn this whole business around into real estate. Because guess where people are moving? To Miami. Guess where people are selling and buying the most at the high-end level? Miami. Guess who are the movers and shakers in that industry that will love to partner with me because I can add value through all these influencers that we work with, the media outlets and so on? Myself and our company. So I said, let's do this. Moved into Miami, got my investor visa, started to reshape the business model to not rentals, but actual sales within that high-end real estate space, partnering up with some of the most successful brokers. So initially, instead of doing the 10-year journey that people talk about in order for you to reach a certain level of success, I said, why 10 years if you can speed it up by adding value and partnering up with the right people? So who are the ones that are selling those 20, 30, $40 million homes? All right, identified, perfect. How do I work with them? How do I attach my brand to their brand while adding value? And I started to say, look, let me help you celebritize your brand and your properties through what we have. Mm-hmm. We have already established the relationships with a lot of different media outlets, with a lot of influencers, with a lot of different things that we can add value. And again, we don't want to even charge for it. We'll only get a percentage of your commission if the property sells within X amount of months. If not, hey, here you go, free publicity and free exposure that you've gotten. They loved it. But hey, guess what? Who's in charge of the narrative when the media outlets are talking about this property or this person? We are in control of it. So our name is already attached to it. And because Miami was such a hot market, these properties were selling. So now the case studies of success stories of these properties being sold, our names were attached to it. So now I can bring this and present it to high net worth individuals that were looking to buy or to sell their homes, to go to the next door neighbor and say, hey, we were just involved in the transaction for this home. Let us help you sell your home. And now we're bringing these brokers as partners so that I'm also learning from the top brokers, because I need to be humble enough to understand that, okay, I'm new in the industry. I need to learn. I'm going to be focusing on what I'm good at while learning from the top brokers that manage so that we can still provide the most amazing service to any client that we work with. And this was the journey that expedited so that in the first year, I was already selling all these multi-million-dollar homes while still learning and doing the process.
Is this how you, I mean, we're talking about celebrity. So is this how you met your girlfriend on that journey?
Yeah.
Because you guys are like a power couple. If you haven't seen them, you have to check them out on Alvaro's Instagram. You guys are like in the most glamorous locations. Her dresses are beautiful. Like, wow. She's just like, it's just like a celebrity couple. So, and she must be a huge, you know, back spine for you as well, and backbone. You know, she supports all of your stuff and she's there with you. And every year you kind of do the same trips. I mean, you've just done Cannes, you've just done Monaco, now you're in Mykonos. It's just amazing what you guys do. So is that how you met her on that journey?
Well, yes, we were working with a lot of public figures, which were not even considered influencers because that term came on afterwards. But when we were talking to all these public figures, slash influencers, we were inviting them to stay in the properties so that they will promote them, right? We were one of the first pioneers on getting
Yeah.
influencer marketing into real estate. So if the occupancy rate was 60, 70% on these villas, may as well use that downtime to get these influencers and stay for free in exchange of content. And this was great because we were just handpicking people that were followed by the celebrities and super successful people that we wanted to work with. So if we look at Will Smith or Tom Cruise or all these big names, who are the ones that they are following? And then we were just reaching out to these people, the ones that were public figures, to invite them to stay for free at these villas. So who will say no to staying at a $5, $6, $7, $10,000 a night villa for 3-4 days with everything included? So that's how we started.
Yeah, I definitely would be saying yes to that. That's so nice.
That's how we started.
And what is your next fitness journey? What crazy thing are you going to be doing now?
Well, interesting. I'm actually doing something called RAM, Race Across America, in 2 weeks. But in this case, I'm going to be a support team for a couple of my friends that are like legends, and I'm just going to help them break the world record for this race across America on a bike, which we want to do it under 6 days. So that's a team adventure.
Oh my God.
And then after that, I have a
Jesus.
100-mile race. But the big one that I have this year, which is the one that I'm training for, and that we have a documentary backing up as well, is called the Great Wall Race, which is the 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days.
Oh my God. Like, do you not get exhausted? It was hilarious. If you haven't seen it, go to Alvaro's Instagram, and you go on the Virgin Atlantic cruise, and you do the first, well, we think it will be the first marathon because no one's that crazy on a cruise, to run a marathon on the track upstairs. And it was hilarious because it got really windy, and he was just there recording this, and good for you. Like, I mean,
hey, Marathon Mondays. I do a
exhausted.
marathon every Monday. You know, even during camping festival, everybody's like going up to 3, 4 a.m. party events. And I said, listen, whatever. I mean, I'm still waking up early and doing a marathon. I just did a marathon here on Monday in Mykonos, and people were like, are you out of your mind with all these hills and heat? But you just get it done. And I think that this is one of the things that differentiates the people that level up and that don't. Not the marathon, but the discipline. You can run 5 miles, but it's about showing up, and showing up for you, showing up for what you're trying to accomplish. If I have a program of what I need to do in order to be successful at this event or this challenge, may as well just show up every day for it. I cannot just, oh, I'm on vacation, let me just get back when I'm done. No, you just keep doing it. And that's what we talk about at the beginning.
No, I love that.
The work hard, play harder.
Exactly. I absolutely love that. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time during your holiday. Well, it's like your holiday, non-holiday, because you do, like you just said, you still keep your routine, which is amazing. I love to keep my routine as well when I'm traveling. And I also recommend everyone to go and get Alvaro's book. Like, this is for me like such a staple to every day. Doesn't have to be that, oh, I want to be the top real estate agent, or I want to be a CEO, whatever. It's just life, and it is amazing. So definitely, I think anyone can get it on Amazon as well, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Get it on Amazon. I will definitely put a link for it down in the bio. I will put Alvaro's Instagram. Keep up with him. He will exhaust you, but he will also inspire you in so many different ways. So I think from both of us, we want to thank everyone for watching, and we hope this inspired them as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the Trendy Talks. I think that you're bringing massive value and inspiration for everybody that is watching. And congratulations also on everything that you've accomplished, because I've also seen your journey, and it's very remarkable. So I'm sure that
I've just got you to look up to. I'm running behind you.
Nah, we're here to support each other on our crazy challenges. So I hope we see each other soon.
Next time you're in Mallorca, I know you are coming, but next time you are in, I would absolutely love to. I just opened up an ice bath studio at Fit Club, and you would love it. Ice bath recovery room. I'm trying to get into it, but that's a mental challenge as well in itself, as an ice bath, and you love doing ice bath for recovery as well.
It's amazing. Well, congratulations. And hey, it was a pleasure being here with you today, and I look forward to seeing each other soon.
Thank you so much. So from Alvaro and I, we want to thank you guys, and we hope this inspired you. Stay trendy and see you at the next level.